Welcome to another episode of the Resurgence Podcast. It is a Happy New Year edition. I know we're a little late into January. We're right under the gun. It's January 30th. So I know there's a stipulation and statute of limitations of when you can say Happy New Year. We're in January still. So as far as I'm concerned, we came under that. It's been a crazy month. There's been a lot of things happening, schedule changes. The weather's been terrible. I was sick for about 7 days without a voice, and I would imagine the people that are around me most of the time were okay with that. And you know, Jaden and Anna had their baby girl. So he and Anna and Oaklen and Lainey, they're just it's awesome that for them.
Yeah.
And so
they have the cutest kids' names, by the way.
They do. It's awesome. So we're glad for them. We're excited for them. Jaden's taking some time. So what we had to do, as you can see, I had to make a call to the bullpen. And we brought in, yes, exactly. And we brought in our closer, our long reliever, our strong reliever. Chris Haugan is joining us today. Those of you that don't know Chris, he's a mortgage loan officer with First International Bank and Trust.
Yep.
And we always love to have him come in. So welcome.
Hey, thank you. Appreciate it.
No problem.
Like I told you before, I'll try not to say anything that will embarrass you
but we
or
want that.
or your listeners.
When Chris comes in, we always look for and wait for the inappropriateness. Especially me. You know, Jaden's not here, and Jaden is always kind of the fun killer. You know, whenever we had you the last time, and we had some faux pas in worship leading, and
well, you asked me the question, so you got the answer that you wanted
exactly, and
made Jaden blush.
It did, he said to me after we edited and before we posted, he's like, "Do we really want to do this?" And yes, we do. So if there's anything that appropriate gets said, nothing's getting edited. So that's why I love having you here.
Yeah.
So
and I know the Brockles too well to make them be able to blush. Can I tell a really quick story? I know you're going to have Tyson, his brother, on a future episode, so you'll get to know him. But here's a funny story about Tyson, if I can share.
Oh, that's perfect.
Tyson and I used to work together on the same team, and we were just casually talking in the office one day. And we were going around the circle and saying everybody had to give up who their middle school crush was back in the day.
Okay.
So I was like Mariah Carey, and then somebody else in the office said somebody else like Zach Morris, usually Saved by the Bell characters
right, for
or whatever.
Sure. Yep.
And we get to Tyson, and he goes, Belle from Beauty and the Beast, and I'm like, you realize that's a cartoon, right?
Oh, that's
so very proper,
Yes, for sure.
Which is that's just kind of how the Brockle boys are. They're easily embarrassed and bashful, and that's why we love them.
Oh my gosh, that is so funny. That will definitely come up in future conversations when I have him. We'll definitely be making him blush. So 2025.
Yeah.
Personally, business-wise, how did it go for you?
Ooh, where do you want me to start?
Well,
Personal
is fine. I know that this was we just talked about this.
Yeah.
This was your second year of being a part of the machine that is the Lincoln High School Marching Band.
Yes.
How did that go? I know that you literally, a lot of people when they get into things, they kind of take that step back and they kind of gradually work themselves into it.
Yeah.
No, when it comes to Chris Haugan and their family, it's head first, hands in, feet in.
Yep.
All exposed. We're getting into this. How did that
just
go?
Like skinny dipping.
Exactly.
We're just getting right into it.
right in.
Yeah. So that's kind of how it went. Well, and the backstory there is that my wife is a graduate of Lincoln High School.
As I'm, yes.
So we've kind of mentioned that before privately, and just when we got into it, and our son was a freshman, it was just a really easy transition, and all of a sudden, I saw my wife bloom in new ways because she lost touch with the program a little bit, but it had been 25 years. And then all of a sudden our son is in it and doing the same things that she used to do with one of the same directors that was there when she was there. And this new life came out of her in the midst of it. And she just turned into this whole new person with this whole new thing that has brought her so much joy.
Right.
And so, it's just been both feet in all of a sudden.
That's so great. That is so awesome. I'm also a graduate. I was a trumpet player. I was drum major my senior year, and then I was fortunate enough to come back. Yeah,
Jeez,
I'm sorry. But I was fortunate enough to come back and work on staff as an instructor for 14 years.
Yep.
So I know, kind of how things work when it comes to that machine. And it's one of the best experiences of my life. So I'm really excited that you guys get a chance to do that.
One for us too. I know this podcast, you talk a lot about faith stuff as well. And so for us, my wife, we're very much a part of church for a long, long time, and have just gone through a different season of our life as I've stepped away from being employed by a church. And, during COVID, a lot of people kind of just were distant, isolated, all that kind of stuff. And for us, this has been a nice, really true entrance back into community for us.
Yes.
And so it's been nice for us to find that in places that we weren't expecting, and just, that we hadn't been following in, going into for many years prior. So it's kind of scratched that itch for us to feel like we're connected to other human beings in a really deep way again. So that's awesome.
Yeah, that's really cool. That's really cool.
Yeah.
And this episode lines up great because usually in January of the year, I like to go through, kind of the state of real estate. Yep. And I like to be able to kind of put a bow on, 2025, what happened in 25 as it compared to 24, and then kind of look ahead to 2026. So I'm glad that you're here because we will be able to talk about kind of the both sides, on the real estate and then also on the lending because they go hand in hand.
Absolutely.
So I'm going to give just some stats of what 24 and 25 kind of compared, and then I want to get kind of what you if there was anything specifically or things of notice that you saw from 2025. So kind of some stats that we had from 2025. The annual sold to list ratio is a number that is the number of homes that get listed. How many or what's the ratio between the ones that get listed in the percentages of those sold. Mm-hmm. In 2024, around 61% of those sold. In 2025, 58% of those sold. So it's a little bit of a dip in there. Mm-hmm. The average sales price for 2024 was right around $400,000. In 2025, it hovered around $375,000. So that one did a little bit of a dip. Average days on the market, 2024 was 75, 2025 was 80. Total listed in 2024, we had 3,447. Total listed in 2025 was 30,607. Now, these are single-family homes. This wasn't. This was just Sioux Falls single-family homes. The total number sold in 2024 was 2,105. Total number sold in 2025 was 2,077. So in 2024 to 25, it was a little bit of a dip in some of the different areas. And when you look at how the year went, as far as like the monthly new solds and monthly new that came on the market, that I could see that was probably going to be the case. Yep. But all in all, still really healthy for Sioux Falls. One of the things that I always say, Sioux Falls is one of those markets where we don't see major ups and major downs, other than maybe those couple of years around COVID where we had a major market shift when homes were selling at 130, 140% above list price, things like that. But typically, Sioux Falls market, we run pretty consistently. So at least in the home sales. What did you see in 2025?
Yeah, I don't have the stats like you do, which is great, super helpful. But I think for my reflection on 2025 is I'm going to just come down to just the idea of expectation. I think a lot of people felt like expectations were, it's like it's going to happen, it's going to happen, it's going to happen. And I think they were carrying that all the way from 2024. Trends were always say that when there's an election year, rates tend to dip because people change how they're investing, and that tends to cause mortgage rates to dip. And that really never happened in 2024. And I think people that carried that expectation into 2025, and it was always kind of, okay, when's this going to happen? This pent up waiting,
Right.
and rates didn't really do anything probably until the fall, which was finally good that there was some relief.
And that was right. If I remember it, that's right around October, wasn't it? Kind
Yep.
of in that. Okay.
Yeah, well, the rates started, mortgage-backed securities started, getting more favorable for the rates in probably September,
Okay.
which then would have affected probably your world,
Right.
maybe
Yes.
a month later,
Yeah.
because then people are starting to kind of ask questions to me,
Right.
and then get prepped for maybe stepping over into your world.
Right.
So yeah, it's just been a slow, gradual dip in rates and that's really ultimately the thing that people. It's the easy thing to grab onto when people are considering if they want to move or not.
Mm-hmm.
And we've talked about before where it's, yes, that's one piece of the puzzle, but there's a lot more. There's a lot more to it in terms of strategy on when should you actually make that decision if you want to make a move or not.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So people were so spoiled in 2020 and 2021, and now it's like kind of waiting for people want to see rates in the fives before they do anything, and I always thought seemed like the magical number that people were kind of waiting for.
Mm-hmm.
And then we started to get probably more toward November, and we started to get rates that were actually touching that within range. If you understand how rates are priced, you have a full array of rates that you can access at any given day. It's not just one rate.
Right.
So just kind of where's the par rate where you don't have to do any buy down or anything like that.
Right.
So rates kind of started touching that low sixes, fives some days. And then it's funny, it just goes to show how in-depth we get and how much we're tracking it, and why podcasts like this are so helpful, because I'm sitting here thinking, oh my gosh, today's the day. These people are going to be so excited.
Right.
And then I would reach out to them, and they're kind of like, oh, okay, yeah, I'll maybe we'll get back to you in a couple of weeks. And I'm like, no, this is urgent.
No, this is really the time. It really is.
Yeah, which just goes to show again
Right.
why things like this are important, because to help people understand what they should be waiting for, and to be ready. And that's what ultimately what I've been trying to preach to people is it's better to be prepared so that you're ahead of the curve rather than behind.
Right. Yep. Exactly. Exactly. And that's one of the things. If you're not following Chris, you have a YouTube channel that talks about the mortgage, kind of the tips that you have when it comes to waiting, not waiting, refinancing, buying. Just certain things that you. That are in kind of your like in your tool bag, that hey, this is what you can do. Don't wait, but here's what we can do. So please follow Chris, find him on YouTube. Let us know what your channel is.
Yeah, it's just Haugan C. It's my last name and then my first initial on YouTube. But you should be able to search my name, Chris Haugan.
Perfect.
Haugan.
Yes.
I think there's an EN out there. And he plays music.
Yep,
and it's
right
not
on.
me,
Yes. But no, thank you for that, because he does offer a lot of helpful information, wealth of knowledge. So I appreciate you doing that. I appreciate you being here. Now, we talk about, we talk about real estate. Real estate is just so stat heavy, number heavy. And you'd mentioned not having stats available. It's one of those things where in lending, the number of like mortgage apps that you take from year to year, to me, I mean, that's really not a true indication of really what the market is doing. That's a fair statement, right?
Yeah, I struggle judging, making generalizations over my small sample size, because my small sample size only reflects my own social circle and what are the people that I am friends with doing at the moment. I would say, generally speaking, I just heard these stats today. Actually, I listened to a daily update thing where it talks about what the Fed is up to and maybe forecasting what's going to be happening. So year over year, purchases and apps are up probably 25%.
Okay.
Right now, from January 2025. Refinance applications are up over 100%, which makes a lot of sense, because the par rate a year ago was 3/4% higher than it is today. So I think the par rate maybe average is like 6.125 or something with no buy down attached to it.
Okay.
So that would make it 6.875 a year ago. So we've come a long ways, and it just goes to show you how far it can come in a relatively short amount of time. And the market's always looking forward, and I sit and watch it every day. And as soon as one news article drops, it's like I see pricing changes almost immediately, because they're trying to anticipate what's about to happen.
Right.
The Fed is going to be announcing a new chair. It was supposed to be today, and I don't think that announcement came out quite yet, but that person's going to take over in May. As soon as that announcement comes out, I'm sure we'll see a favorable jump.
Yep.
So,
And that's interesting in the world of lending, in the world of real estate, how certain things that happen, in our country, you alluded to it, the election years. People, they get so, we can't do anything, we're going to wait, it's the waiting game. And now we've had a full year of 2025. Looking into 26, we've had a full year now of, 2025 in this new, you want to call this new political regime, so to speak. And, we've gone through this full year. If you could get out, the crystal ball or the magic 8 ball, I wish I would have brought a magic 8 ball because I love, it's like, are the rates going to be good in 2026? Shake it up. And it's decidedly so. Okay, we're good, So I wish I would have brought one. So, but looking at, we've had that full year now.
Sure.
If you could look into 2026, what favorable is it favorable in 2026 in your mind?
Yeah, I think the people that we follow, in terms of the experts that study mortgage-backed securities and macroeconomics, things that even I don't fully understand, where how trading over here affects trading over here, which affects my world. And there's so many things that cause and affect everything. Even international macroeconomics affect certain things day to day from what happens in the mortgage industry. But the people we follow at our bank, they're overall favorable. I mean, they would say, they made a prediction. They always do their own State of the Union address in January too. And their prediction for this year, this guy who leads it has been he's earned this Crystal Ball Award 4 times. I mean, he's just always on top of things. And they're predicting over the course of this year, rates will probably dip even probably a 0.5%. Obviously they're not. It could go more, but nobody's going to predict the extreme. Nobody's going to put their, put themselves out there for that. So I think generally favorable.
Okay.
I think in general though, it's been hard. I mean, the last year, people who are investing want to invest when it's predictable.
Right.
The last year has been anything but.
Right.
And so unpredictability just equals uncertainty, which just equals this.
Right.
When it comes to trying to predict.
Right.
So I would say word of advice. Just go easy on your mortgage banker.
For sure.
Because I feel more like a weatherman right now than ever, because it's like all the data points here, but somebody could say one thing and it could just go the opposite direction today.
And one of the things that I hear all the time when I'm working with sellers, especially sellers, because they typically, when they look at putting their house on the market, they take a look at what the rates are doing because they want to know what price point that buyer is going to be able to be in. If the rates are favorable and they've got a house that's sitting in a certain price range, they can, we can list it here because we know the rates are here.
Right.
When people are looking at rates, and I'm glad you're here because I want you to explain this because I still think there's a misconception of when the Fed will do a decrease in the rate and like, oh my gosh, they decreased it, by 0.5 point. That means mortgage rates are going to be this. Explain the misconception there.
Yeah, the Fed, when they control the treasury rates, the bond rates, and they actually put a number on those rates for what a person could go then buy a government bond and then hold on to it and return it later for the percentage that they decided. That it only indicates directionality of what mortgage rates will do. And again, it ties to the macroeconomics of it where, people, they're trying to entice more. If a Fed lowers the bond rate by 0.25%, those are always the highlights that people are like, think immediately mortgage rates are going to drop by that same 25% or 0.25%. It's not really equivalent 1-to-1 like that. I mean, the Fed is saying, hey, we're going to make these 10-year treasury bonds at this return lower. They're trying to entice more people to go and buy those they're trying to push trading the other way by making the return on these a little less because they're thinking, okay, things are healthier. We're gonna lower these so that people can start trading elsewhere, and then the mortgage world reacts to that because they're like, oh, okay, people now are the economy is stronger, and then now the mortgage rates will go down, not equivalent, but just similarly, the direction's the same.
Right.
So if the bond rates are going up, mortgage rates are probably going up. Right. It just means ultimately the health of the economy, which is lots of factors go into that. But
So if somebody really wants to get into what the rates are going to be doing, they really need to take a look at on a daily basis what that 10-year Treasury bond is doing.
it just helps you understand the direction of things.
Okay.
Yes. Yep. And just like look at the last month.
Right.
And if that's been going up, you can probably assume mortgage rates have generally been going up.
Right.
If that's starting to go down, you can assume mortgage rates are going to follow right after.
Right, because it becomes vibrant, it becomes healthy, and things like that. So
Yep.
Well, cool.
And one thing too, when you mentioned people are trying to plan on buying and selling and all of that stuff, a really good example I've had with some customers this last year, and I think we talked about it maybe on a previous episode about it's better for you to buy a home when the rates are slightly higher, because it is way better for you to not have competition when buying a home versus having competition.
Yes.
And here's why. So if you buy a house now when the rates are a little higher, you're not going to have fewer people that's competing against you, but maybe your payment is $100 more than you'd like it to be.
Mm-hmm.
That's not an ideal scenario by any means, but that as opposed to that would be waiting,
Right.
just like everybody else is doing.
Yep.
Yes, you can get your payment down by $100 because the rate's a little less,
Mm-hmm.
but you might lose 20 grand on making your offer on this new house.
Exactly.
And when you could have just done it 6 months earlier, got a house for less, maybe paid $100 extra for 6 months, that's $600, or you can wait and lose 20 grand
Right,
on
yep,
a house price.
yep.
So the math doesn't even come close to making sense.
Yes.
So I just refinanced some people that bought a house in June this last year. Their rate was low sevens at the time, and they just refinanced at like 6.375. So they got 3/4 less.
Sure.
They got the house they wanted. They didn't have to compete against anybody, and they only had to spend 7 months in a mortgage
And
that they didn't want long term, and they didn't have to have it long term.
Absolutely. So that's the other question. So how long does somebody have to be in their house then to refinance to that better rate?
It just depends on where the market's going, and
Okay.
the method I've been working through with people over the past year, because of the volatility, because it's hard to predict.
Mm-hmm.
It means people have kind of been waiting longer than they thought they maybe would have, because people could have gotten into the home with that same strategy I talked about, where I'm going to buy the house now and just cross my fingers and hope I can refinance in a year. Well, people who bought in 2024, they've been waiting longer than they were hoping at this point. So it's not a foolproof plan, but at some point, I mean, all the experts are saying it's going to happen. It's going to happen. So in terms of waiting, what I've been kind of coaching people is, if I was able to show you a rate sheet, every single day a banker has access to probably 20 different rates. Each one costs some money depending on how low or below market you want to go. Or you can sell points. You can get money right up front from the bank for taking a rate that's higher than the market is at right now.
Okay.
You can choose either one.
Okay.
I've been working with people, and normally rule of thumb has always been wait till you save 1%.
Okay.
Because the math just tends to start working out
Okay.
there. However, again, with the volatility, you can actually maybe make a refinance a little quicker, take some smaller gains.
Okay.
And you can do that by, let's say the par rate today is 6.125. And let's say your rate, current rate is 7.5.
Okay.
Okay.
Yep.
You can sell some points right up front, maybe take 6.5 rather than the 6, the lower 6 that you could be at. Well, immediately you get, let's say, a few $1,000 up front right back from the bank, because you're choosing a rate that's higher than where their market's at right now.
Okay.
And what you're doing essentially is getting a free refinance, because the fixed fees that it costs to do the refinance are being taken care of by some upfront costs from the bank.
Okay.
And so essentially then you're lowering your rate quite a ways by voluntarily taking a rate higher than where the market's at.
Okay.
You're gaining, and you're eliminating the upfront cost. Whenever you refinance, that's ultimately what I talk about with people. What's the cost, and what's the short-term sacrifice I'm making compared to the long-term gain I'm getting?
Okay.
What are those two? That equation is ultimately the big question.
Yep.
And if I can eliminate the cost, that side of the equation, down to zero, well, then it takes zero time whatsoever to earn back or to make that refinance worth it.
Right.
So if you can lower the cost side, then you can maybe jump in and take some shorter-term gains sooner, rather than holding out and waiting
Yep.
for the full percent, because you might be waiting a long time just
Right.
because of this.
Yep. No, that is so true. Well, I know that in the real estate market, it's rate heavy. I know, and it's demand as always. But I look at 26. And it's, like I said before, the consistent market that we have been, in the number of years I've done, it shows itself out, other than the market shift that we went through. And I suspect, 2026 is going to be healthy in our world, with the number of things that are happening in our community. There's so many opportunities that are coming in, and I think 2026 is going to be in the real estate buying and selling is going to be. It's going to be better. The numbers are going to show that. I think they're going to be higher than this year.
And I also heard one other stat today too, with kind of some of those updates I mentioned earlier about the year-over-year statistics. Nationally, housing is still short in terms of the need that's out there. Buyers are just holding back a little bit because of the rate, but whenever that happens, the predictions would be these millions of people are going to be on the market, and there's not enough houses out there for them to have. Our market's slightly different. We feel a little isolated sometimes, but I do think when the time comes, when there's buyers on the market, there's going to be a shortage of houses. Which immediately is going to take us back a few years to where there's going to be a lot of people fighting over a few houses, which is going to make house prices grow. Which, again, that's good or bad. I mean, you don't want them to grow too quickly.
No, and that's.
But anyway, there's going to be some competition, and house prices will grow, and that's good for people who already own a home, too.
Exactly.
But another advocate for actually buying and owning a home.
Exactly, and doing it in a way that is based on the information rather than looking just solely at what my rate is doing. Getting all the information, buying now, what that's going to look like going forward, and not just be rate. Conscious and things like that. So we've talked about that.
There's so much strategy when it comes to planning around a rate, and I've shared a few examples even just today. But I mean, just getting together and chatting with people like us and strategizing, there's so much to it that it can help you out and save you money in the long term.
I agree. And just, again, check out Chris. If you're looking at buying or selling.
Check out Scott, too.
Thank you. And if you're looking at buying or selling, yes, check me out. I'd be more than happy to help. And then Chris.
You look nice today.
Thank you. I'm growing out the beard a little bit more. So we're going to see how that we're going to see how that goes. So, but check out Chris. Get a hold of Chris. We'll post all of his information on our page again. Thank you so much for being here. We always love having you here.
Thanks for having me. Appreciate it.
Exactly. So, and as we always do, we end each episode with prayer. We're a faith-based program. So if you have anything that you have, any questions you have regarding mortgage, real estate, just whatever else that you're going through, you need prayer requests, put it in the comments. We'd be more happy to answer those and pray for you. And if any, again, go on Resurgence Podcast, subscribe, rate, review. We got our Facebook page. We got our YouTube. Instagram is coming. Jaden was supposed to do that, but he went off and had a baby and kind of messed everything up.
Priorities.
Yeah, exactly. But he's going to start doing that. So if you would, just go ahead and pray with me. Father God, I just thank you so much for today. I thank you so much for this time of year. It's a time of year of renewal. It's a time of year of looking forward to new beginnings and things like that. And we just appreciate that you are walking along with us, that we have this time. I thank you so much for Chris and his expertise and him being here and kind of walking people through the advantages of home ownership and the ins and outs of what they can look forward to when it comes to their mortgage, and not just be a person that just harps on here's the interest rate, but giving them valuable information into how to do this the right way. So we appreciate him being here. Father God, we thank you so much for new life, and we thank you so much for the new addition to the Resurgence family and the Brocco family, and being with Anna and Jaden and big brother Oaklen and new baby Lainey. Have your hand on them and your love, and we just thank you for this time that we get to share with everyone, and we love you, and we thank you for all that you've given us. In your gracious name we pray. Amen.
Amen.
Thank you for joining us. We will see you next time.